What's up, Wrestling World? This is Andy Perez with 411mania.com, and you are watching Dissecting Dynamite. And before we start the show, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment in the chat what you thought about this week's Dynamite. We would love to know. And ladies and gents, we are keeping it short and sweet tonight, so try to keep up. Joining me this evening is a 411 Mania jack of all trades and the host of the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast, Mr. J to the E to the double F Ree, Jeffrey Harris. Jeffrey, how you doing today?
Good evening, Andy. The balance of power in the wrestling industry. I don't know if it's going to shift tonight, but I think we are going to have a fun show. So once again, it is Dissecting Dynamite. I am the J to the E to the double F Ree, Jeffrey Harris, and we're going to have an awesome show.
We certainly are. And what we want to know is, was Dynamite an awesome show? Make sure you comment in the chat. Tell us what you thought. And Jeff, what did you think about our match that kicked off the night? We had a Young Bucks versus Top Flight, immediately pushing Top Flight with a wonderful video package. These 21-year-old and 19-year-old brothers grew up watching Motor City Machine Guns and the Young Bucks, and now they are facing Matt and Nick Jackson on live television in front of an entire nation. What did you think about this opening?
Definition hot opener. Even though these were sort of young upstarts, they definitely gave these guys the rub. They definitely put them over big time. Maybe not as a finish to the match, but they sold a ton of offense for these two young guys, and they made them look good. And it's a good way to sort of kick off the Young Bucks title run, have them face sort of a young up-and-coming team, and very likely a team that will be a hot act in the coming years, and sort of give them a chance to showcase themselves, not have like a nothing 3-minute match, but really give these guys time to let them show off their moveset, let them show what they can do, and they definitely had a crowd-pleasing, satisfying title contest. Hot opener, for sure.
Most definitely, very hot opener. We saw some amazing, innovative offense in this match, as we come to expect with the Young Bucks match, but really gave me, as well as I'm sure others, Private Party versus Young Bucks feelings throughout the match. Really impressive acrobatics and offense. Dante has some hops on him. Got more height on that tope con hilo than just about basically everyone I've ever seen do it. If you're watching at home, make sure you leave a comment in the chat. Tell us what you thought about Top Flight and where do you see Top Flight going forward in AEW. But what was interesting to me is we didn't see FTR pop up in a run-in in this match. We did have a run-in afterwards, but it wasn't by FTR. Right. Where do you see the Young Bucks going moving forward after picking up this win versus Top Flight?
I don't know, because you had the post-match brawl, which was the first of multiple post-match brawls tonight, was with right. Evans and Angelico from the Hybrid 2. And they went after Top Flight, so it seems like they're setting something up with Top Flight. I don't know where we're going to go next with the Bucks, but I mean, the good news is that there are a lot of teams. There are a lot of solid tag teams in AEW, and there are a lot of ways they can go, and there are a lot of opponents they can face. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But this was I think this was a good start to the title run, at least. But they could definitely do a rematch with FTR down the line, now that FTR are the top-ranked tag team in the world.
I completely agree.
According to Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Exactly. I completely agree. And another note to keep at home is they're still pushing this Matt Jackson ankle injury. So to see where that goes moving forward will be interesting. But speaking of moving forward, after this match, after the Young Bucks pull off the win, and after TH2 comes in with the first post-match ambush of the night, we have the Inner Circle slaying Vegas, and we might as well knock off both of the Inner Circle segments in this short discussion. But what did you think of this whole promo package of the Inner Circle taking Vegas? We've come to expect some major entertainment from both MJF and Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle. Put them together, and we usually have gold. Was that the case tonight?
I wouldn't say pure gold, but more like Silver. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. Le Dinner Debonair is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in wrestling history. This wasn't quite that, but I had a lot of fun with it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed they had Piff the Magic Dragon, the magician, the
Exactly.
Las Vegas magician Piff. He had a fun little cameo in there. I would have really loved it if Penn and Teller made an appearance, but Piff the Magic Dragon appearing was not bad, and that was the highlight of the segment for me, was seeing not just Piff but also Conan making an appearance. So both Conan and Piff making cameos. So I like that you had the whole Inner Circle and MJF and all the Inner Circle had like little moments in this. It worked. It totally worked for me. It was a fun little vignette. And look, there's clearly a long thing going on here with MJF and Jericho that I think we're going to see play out over the coming months. It seems obvious to me, but we'll see. But I had no problem with it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good vignette sketch kind of thing. Totally harmless fun.
Very enjoyable. And we have Kenneth back in the chat this week. Hello again, Kenneth, bringing up a Swoggle sighting on AEW and Impact, saying how busy Hornswoggle has been. But yeah, not only did we have Piff the Magic Dragon, we had Hornswoggle in there. We had
I totally missed Swoggle. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he was in a baby diaper crying during the hangover segment towards the end of it. But yeah, we had Swoggle, we had Conan showing up, smoking out the Inner Circle. We had Wardlow and Jake Hager taking turns punching weaklings, and then of course, as Mr. Blake Lovell and I predicted last week, they went with a hangover bit for the second part of this segment.
Okay.
Just everybody's passed out. Nobody knows what went on, but what we do see is a bit more progression with the Sammy Guevara and MJF situation, a bit more progression between Wardlow and Jake Hager, and then an interesting dichotomy between they used to be called LAX. What are they? Pride and Proud now.
Santana and Ortiz.
Yep, Santana and Ortiz, maybe a bit of a disagreement between them on how they see MJF. But what I want to ask you is which potential matchup or feud within this storyline that we've seen teased are you looking forward to the most? And I'm also asking the people at home.
It's interesting because we did just see Jericho and MJF, even though I think there's going to be something further coming out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think you can do something with Hager and Wardlow. I feel like Wardlow is going to be the biggest star of them all coming out of this whole angle or whatever. And I think looking at Wardlow, once the guy gets a little more time, seasoning, years under his belt, I think he is going to be a huge star just based on what I've already seen out of him. I think he has so much potential.
Oh yeah, and he is a monster. And as our consistent viewers here at Dissecting Dynamite know, I, like Big E, am a fan of big meaty men slapping meat. So if we do get a Jake Hager versus Wardlow face off, I am going to be on board. And
those guys, that would be a big hoss match for sure. So that'd be fun, yeah.
Yeah, and I was also on board for this whole Vegas segment. It didn't quite hit like I thought it would. I thought we would have maybe a bigger bit of story progression, whether it's Sammy being left in Florida, his flight didn't quite pan out, or something of that nature.
They could still do more with that. Well, I guess we'll see next week. They could have Fallout.
Exactly.
They could Hangover Part 2. This could maybe next week they'll be stuck in Bangkok or something.
Right, they'll be stuck somewhere, and it seems like we're currently stuck in a certain storyline that just seems to be going on and going on and going on, and that's Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian here. Not particularly those two, but just this whole Miro and Kip versus the best friend situation. Right. It's been dragged out for quite a few weeks now since Trent Beretta's poor head got put through that arcade machine. But what did you think about Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian facing off in a singles match? And what did you guys at home think of this match? Make sure you leave a comment in the chat as well as like and subscribe.
I thought the match was good. I enjoyed it. I think it did its job.
Hmm.
I enjoyed Miro on commentary. Sounded just relaxed. Sounded like he was being himself. Uh,
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy does definitely seem like he's sort of like a long-term project for AEW right now, and it looks like they're keeping him
They're kind of keeping
like
him at
they
bay, it seems. Like they're kind of making sure that he,
maybe
he, he
yeah, but
doesn't
they
show
don't
all
want
of his
him.
cards.
Yeah, but no one's beating him right now. Like even like he had the match with Cody, that went to the time limit draw, right?
Hmm.
So they didn't have Cody beat him. So I think they're gonna. I feel at some point they're gonna pull the trigger on Orange Cassidy with something. Um, so it seemed to make sense that he would win this match, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where they go with Miro and Kip Sabian, but it's a mid card feud we have going on right now.
Hmm. And we have Tony Acero in the chat, former guest host here on Dissecting Dynamite. Tony Acero
Hey Tony, thank you.
saying Orange Cassidy a bajillion stars for this match. I can't say I completely agree. I love everything that Orange Cassidy does, and some of the storytelling in this match. Kip trying to prevent OC's hands going into his pocket throughout the first part of the match. But this match in general wasn't anything spectacular when it comes to an Orange Cassidy match for me. But it was still an Orange Cassidy match, so I'll still have to give it 5 stars.
Tony, you didn't give it a bajillion stars. You gave it eight stars and 5/18. So sorry about that, but that's what I'm reading on. Oh wait, yeah, this is Tony's review.
Yep, make it.
So it wasn't quite a bill. They didn't quite hit a bajillion stars tonight, Tony, but they got close.
Tony,
That's the
we are
important thing.
fact checking you, so you better not drop any false knowledge here. But nonetheless, I thought that Kip's movements maybe seemed a bit sluggish at points of the match. But compared to Orange Cassidy, everybody looks fast. So what am I saying? But nonetheless, a mousetrap wins it. And Miro, like you said, comes in with a monster clothesline afterwards. We've had 2 matches and we've had 2 post-match beatdowns, a trend that would continue throughout the entirety of our night. But and we have Kenneth in the chat coming to say he's actually worn out on Miro being with Kip, whereas he doesn't necessarily see him being comfortable. It's a major step down from the impactful run that Kenneth thinks that Miro needs coming into AEW. That's something that we've been commenting on for a few weeks now. When is Miro going to get to that next level? That remains to be seen. But what we did see tonight was we saw a contract signing between Jon Moxley and Mr. Kenny Omega.
We saw half of a contract sign.
Half of a contract. That's exactly right. Because, we had John lay the groundwork a bit earlier in the night with a little promo telling a story about his dad, how he's still a champion because he's a good guy, and despite the pressure, despite the challenges, despite the cough cough pregnant wife, congrats John, he's still going to remain on top. But that wasn't the story being told when we actually got to the contract signing just a couple segments later. We had Jon Moxley laid out in back, bloody nose, and Kenny Omega looking like a boss in his wonderful looking suit and his wonderful looking aviators, looking a bit miffed on stage. What did you think of this situation, and what are your thoughts on this type of storytelling being utilized in this match? Because
I liked it. I feel like they're kind of edging it out. I feel like heel turn with Omega,
Mhm.
like he's kind of like a borderline kind of walking the fence heel, but I feel like they haven't quite fully pulled the trigger on it. And now we have this situation with a Moxley beatdown. We didn't see who it was. So I think obviously we might maybe it was Omega. Maybe it was someone else. So I like to think it was Omega, and they're just kind of keep us in suspense. But this is the kind of mystery angle in wrestling I don't mind so much, as long as they don't drag it out too long.
See, I'm going to just dangle this out there because we have a bit of speculation in the chat. We have Kenneth saying that he thinks perhaps it was Lance Archer. I'm going to throw this out there. What if it was Hangman? What if Hangman wanted to put a damper on Kenny Omega's big title shot on December 2nd? Uh, I'm just saying, I'm not claiming to be a booker here, but I'm saying there are a lot of areas that we need to go, and Hangman's obviously in a desperate situation after facing that
Right.
loss to Kenny Omega back at Full Gear. So where
I
Hangman
think
goes next, who knows?
that in this case, it hurts Moxley more than it does Omega, because it kind of because Moxley is still going to wrestle Omega in December, and then that kind of softens him up a little more. So,
And
yeah.
it,
So, I mean, that would be an interesting curveball, kind of an interesting left turn that I probably wouldn't expect. I don't know. I guess it depends on what direction they want to go with the whole Hangman Omega thing.
we have Tony Acero in the chat saying that it was Rikishi. And I assume that he was doing it for The Rock too. It makes no sense, but we're here. It's 2020. Of course, Rikishi took out John Moxley. But coming up next, we had the return of. I'm on Team Eddie Kingston here. I don't know if it's PAC. I don't know if it's PAC.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Paku Paku. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the know when it comes here, but all I know is that I am glad to see PAC back in AEW. What did you think of PAC
Wow.
versus the Blade? And you guys watching at home, make sure you leave a comment in the chat. Tell us what you thought.
For a guy, we haven't seen wrestle in how many months? Like 8 months. He doesn't look like he has any ring rust at all, and he has not, and he doesn't have any gym rust either, for that matter. He did not look like he's been missing the gym at all during this pandemic. Not one bit. And it was great to see PAC back in the ring. Had a solid match with the Blade. I think the Blade kind of got to show a little bit here. They got a solid 11 minutes. So they got to have a decent match, and PAC had the academic win, but it was a good match. And PAC is back, and now we have a new feud for PAC between now he has his stable, and Kingston has his, and it looks like that will be the angle going forward for these two for the next few weeks.
Yeah, PAC is back. That sounds like a T-shirt if I've ever seen one. So make sure that you send that over to PAC and his Pro Wrestling Tees team over there. And
Yes.
we have Tony Acero back in the chat again, commenting, "Yeah, I'm not the booker, but I'm booking Tony to take over your role in a couple weeks. Tony, you're allowed on Dissecting Dynamite whenever you want. You don't got to sabotage our friend Jeffrey here."
Standing invitation, Tony.
Exactly.
Or we could have a cage match or something. I mean,
Oh, I'm thinking a match off between
well,
Jeffrey and Acero
You know.
right here on Dissecting Dynamite. You won't see this type of action anywhere else, ladies and gents. So make sure
He's
you give
gonna
us a like
send-
and subscribe.
he's gonna send me packing, Andy.
Perhaps. But the thing is, the Lucha Bros sent the family packing tonight because after this whole situation went down, after PAC puts away the Blade with the brutalizer, we have the third post-match beatdown of the night. Kingston comes in, tries to take out PAC, and of course we have Phoenix coming in for the save, and then we have Penta coming in. And we had no idea what was going on here. Was Penta going to go up against Phoenix? Was Penta going to go up against Kingston? It turns out that blood is thicker than friends, I guess. Even if your friend is Eddie Kingston, and he is pretty dang thick. And I'm saying that, but what I want to hear from you guys in the comments, what are your predictions when it comes to the family versus the Death Triangle? And Jeff, how do you see the storyline moving forward?
I think there's a lot you can do with this, and I'm glad that they at least remembered that they had that Death Triangle stable, so they've kind of renewed that at least. Other than that, now they're kind of like baby faces. So I'm glad they kind of they left us in suspense a little bit with who Penta was ultimately going to side with, and for now it definitely looks like Death Triangle. So that group is back together, and now we kind of have it even on both sides. So now we'll have Eddie Kingston's family versus Death Triangle, and I think they're going to have some fun matches together uh, going forward. So we'll see.
Most,
How about a trios title?
I'd be into
Let's
that.
get a trios title
I
going.
mean, the tag division is definitely deep enough, and we have quite a few factions within AEW now. So
Exactly.
I'm not going to say no for it. And in terms of this feud going further, of course, we have PAC and Phoenix versus Butcher and the Blade next week, so we have that to look forward to. But something that you weren't looking forward to is seeing Jade Cargill or Jade Cargill back on screen. I know that you were not a fan of the whole promo last week. In addition to the Shaq situation, neither were Blake and I while we were watching it live last week. But we saw Jade come in, potentially breaking Brandy's arm. It looked like she was being backed up by Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero there, perhaps. So
Yep.
we have this whole situation going forward, and it seems that situation was going forward without Cody because Cody didn't seem shaken by it later in the night. But when it comes to the whole stratosphere, the AEW stratosphere, it's soon going to become the Shakosphere, I guess, because Shaq is on board, and it looks like this Jade versus Brandy situation is going to keep on going too.
I have a question,
Let's
Andy.
hear it.
So they're doing they started this whole thing with Shaq, for mainstream attention and whatever, because Shaq is a big star in NBA circles. Are they even talking about this on the NBA shows or the shows that Shaq is on? Has Shaq mentioned this at all? Like, where's this is all being done for crossover appeal, but where is the crossover work being done on the other side?
I mean, I'm not an ESPN guy, so I couldn't say if there was any coverage elsewhere. I'm sure, as you said, that's their intention. But if I need to know if Shaq went on ESPN talking about AEW, I'll have to ask my dad about that because I'm just not
Okay.
in the ESPN world, unfortunately, and stuff like that. But whether or not it gets the type of mainstream attention that they're looking for remains to be seen. What also remains to be seen was quite an NWA women's title match that followed this up. We had Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb. These two have shown that they put on just wonderful matches, but once again, up until tonight, we hadn't seen or heard from Shida, our reigning AEW Women's Champion. Once again, we have the NWA Women's Championship potentially overshadowing the AEW Women's title. Still a great match. I want to know what our watchers at home thought about it. But Jeff, what did you think about Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb tonight?
We watched the match together. I think you agree. I think I would agree. This was the match of the night for
Mm-hmm.
us for tonight. And I think you can definitely criticize the AEW women's division at times. I think there have been valid criticisms, but sometimes I think it gets a little overblown. And I think there was really virtually nothing wrong with this match tonight. I
Mm-hmm.
think Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa had an exceptionally high quality matchup. They looked good. They went back and forth. They got a nice amount of time. Um, I I don't know how long, but I would say they went easily 15 minutes with the commercial break. It was a good. It really worked for me. Um, I don't know you needed the interference by Britt Baker and Rebel during the match, but you're setting up I guess you're setting up for something down the road with Thunder Rosa. I think they need to. I don't know what Thunder Rosa's status and who she has a contract with, but like she's on Dynamite. She's become like a regular. They need to sign her to something at some point. But I'd say good for these two ladies. They did a great job tonight and had the best match of the night, in my opinion.
I completely agree on that. And where I have had criticisms in the past of AEW maybe not putting the women's division on the proper pedestal that
Right.
it deserves to be on. We did get some storyline progression, some character progression in this match. We had Britt Baker, like you said, interfere during the match as well as get
Mm-hmm.
attacked by Thunder Rosa. And was this our fourth post match brawl of the
Yeah,
night.
so that's the only issue is that there were a lot of post match brawls tonight. A
Yeah.
lot of I mean, but they are trying to progress these storylines and give everyone a storyline and something to come back to in the coming weeks. So I guess that's as repetitive as that was the benefit to having all those post match brawls. But you made a good point while we were watching it. Why was Britt Baker still there? Like why did she stay in the crowd after she attacked Thunder Rosa? Because obviously, Thunder Rosa lost. I mean, she later lost the match, but obviously she's going to be kicked after that whole deal. So,
Right.
well, she paid for it big time.
Yeah, if I'm blindsiding someone with Thunder
Yeah,
Rosa's skill
that,
set, I am hopping town right after that. I'm not waiting around to see if she wins the title or not. But yeah, it looks like we have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa going forward. This is a storyline that started with a bit of a Twitter beef, and it looks like it's going to go off to the races with that. We have Tony in the chat saying that he actually enjoys how NWA and AEW are possibly being integrated more, which I enjoy as well. If this is what it takes to bring further legitimization to AEW's women's division, then I am all on board. And then finally, we did get a mention of Shida after this match. We had our boy John Silver. He's our mascot here at Dissecting Dynamite, I would have to say. We had our boy John Silver along with Anna Jay challenging Shida to a match next week, which I am very excited for. What are your thoughts on the state of the AEW women's division going forward now that we have a real mixture of AEW and NWA women's stars mixing it up,
okay.
trying to get the top spot?
I was surprised to hear that Anna Jay was top 5, but I haven't been catching every episode of Dark, so I guess she's been racking up those wins on Dark, and that have just been falling under my radar. So we didn't really get any Sheeta tonight, but she's getting getting the week off, and they're going to have her defending the title next week. Which, look, when you have a roster as big as AEW, you can't get everyone on every week, and some people are just not going to be on every week. So this week was the NWA Women's Title. Next week will be the AEW Women's Title. So, I think that's fine. And we'll see what Anna Jay can do next week. They're gonna give her a nice opportunity. I don't know how great of a matchup that will be, but they're gonna give her a shot, and I don't think it's going to top this week's match, but I'm open to the idea of them going out and having a good match. We'll see.
As am I, and I'd like to see where Britt Baker starts factoring into things, because I've been pegging her as she's going to be the one that's going to take the title off of Sheeta, perhaps, but now she's getting involved in the whole NWA scene. So who knows?
I want Britt Baker to have her moment, have her big title run, but it seems like she's got something going with Thunder Rosa first before that's going to happen. So
most definitely,
we'll see what
led to what
happens.
And that led to our main event of the evening. We have Team Taz here, Ricky Starks and Brian Cage facing off against Cody and Darby Allin, and in quite a match. I've made no secret about it what I think of Ricky Starks. I think he is the next big star. See the dynamic between he and Cage, and who's going to be going for the TNT title, who's going to be able to lay claim to that title shot, especially with both of them existing in the top 5, is going to be interesting. We saw a little bit of that dynamic here with Brian Cage tossing not only Darby Allin but also Ricky Starks in a double German suplex situation.
And he blamed it on Ricky Starks. He's like, you just German suplex your partner, and you're like, that was your fault. Like, man,
exactly.
That's cold-blooded. That's cold-blooded, Andy.
Exactly. I have to agree on that. And then moments later, we actually have Brian Cage picking up the win against TNT champion Darby Allin with an amazing top rope finisher. Just a nasty looking move. What did you think of this whole match? What do you think of the situation when it comes to the TNT title? And what did you, as well as our viewers at home, think of the post-match ambush? We have Will Hobbs joining Team Taz.
Right. Big development this week. That was all better than the entirety of the whole Shaq Jade Cargill segment, Brandy from last week. So that was an interesting development. Good match, great finish, some really stiff moves, and that some really stiff Hoss moves. Like we had Cody eating just a straight up powerbomb on the floor during the commercial break, and then we had that kind of like top rope Falcon Arrow for the finish. Like, man, Darby Allin ate all of that. That looked gnarly. And then we had Willie Hobbs just doing a full-on heel turn at the end. So looks like he'll be either going. I guess Starks will be going after probably Darby Allin, and then now maybe Will Hobbs will probably be feuding with Cody. And Will Hobbs is a guy, Tony Khan, AEW president Tony Khan says, I've earmarked Will Hobbs for a big push. So this is a guy that they've signed that they say they want to push. So the spotlight's on Will Hobbs now to see what he can do. Now, honestly, last week I thought it was very suspicious that when they had the brawl last week that Will Hobbs came out like and didn't do anything. I'm like, you're as useless as Tuxedo Mask. So maybe they were doing a long con on us even last week when Will Hobbs came out and didn't do anything, and this week he came out and just turned on Cody and Darby, and now he is full on Team Taz. So another face to the Team Taz stable.
Most definitely, and we have Links 595 in the comments this week saying Hobbs going and pulling a Hogan moment, joining the AEW's NWO, I guess. But nonetheless, as you can tell here at Dissecting Dynamite, we've been here for a few weeks now, and we're playing around with runtime, trying to figure out what our viewers want to see. So make sure you let us know. Are you looking for a shorter show? Are you looking for a longer show? This week is obviously a bit of a shorter show before we move into the superlatives. But let us know. Let us know in the comments what you want to see out of Dissecting Dynamite each week. If you want, you can even email me directly at andyperezbusiness@gmail.com. Tell me what you want to see out of your weekly Dissecting Dynamite. But nonetheless, once again, Will Hobbs turning heel, joining Team Taz, and it was quite a moment.
Where was Shaq?
Oh, that's what
What does Shaq have to? Whose side is Shaq on? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know whose side Shaq would have been on if he were a part of one of these 30 post-match beatdowns that we had this week on AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, that was our fifth one today, right? Was that 5? Was that 5 for 5?
Exactly, it was 5. And even though Shaq wasn't here, even though Shaq wasn't our wrestler of the week, Jeff, I want to know who your wrestler of the week was, and I want you guys in the comments to tell us what you thought as well.
Thunder Rosa, she didn't win tonight, but I feel like she was the best performer tonight, and her attire was A+ too. So yeah, Thunder Rosa for me.
I'd have to agree with that. Thunder Rosa is a star, and as soon as AEW straps a rocket to her back, I'm going to be holding on to the bottom of that rocket, hoping to not get burnt, because I want to ride the Thunder Rosa train, because she is a star. When it comes to my wrestler of the night, gosh, it's hard to say. I need to go through my notes again real quick just to, coming back, entering in a feud with a wrestler I enjoy as much as Eddie Kingston. I would have to say that PAC is my wrestler of the night, making his comeback.
Good choice.
Tony Acero repping Orange Cassidy, saying Orange Cassidy is a wrestler of the night. And then we have Wannabe Troutfishers back in the chat this week saying that Dissecting Dynamite is always a great show. Thank you. We love to hear that. Keep up that support by liking, subscribing, and continuing to leave those comments. After Wrestler of the Night, of course, there is many highlights every single time we watch AEW Dynamite. What stood out to you the most? What was your AEW Dynamite Diamond of the Week?
Man, I already said Serena Deeb versus Thunder Rosa was match of the night. Bucks and Top Flight had a very good match, a hot opener, but for all the criticism the AEW women's division gets, I think Deeb and Rosa had the standout match tonight. So they're my diamond of the week.
I'd have to agree with that. But just because you've already taken it, I would like to go ahead and give the spotlight to Top Flight. Top Flight, a couple diamonds in the rough there.
Good choice. Yeah.
We have some shout outs in the chat. Kenneth Hill as well as Wannabe Troutfishers both think that Top Flight were the wrestlers of the week. I'd say that they were my diamond of the week, and that match just showed what they can do in the ring. But where we have diamonds, unfortunately, we also always have duds. What would you say your Dynamite dud of the week was? And make sure you let us know in the chat what you guys thought the dud of the week was as well for this week of Dynamite.
Dud of the week.
I know it's hard on a show like this. Great show.
Because like last week, I definitely had a couple duds.
Mm-hmm.
This week was considerably better. Can it be a certain moment?
Yeah, it can be anything.
Okay, my dud is Britt Baker and Rebel staying in the crowd after they interfered and did an attack on Thunder Rosa. That was not smart. That just wasn't smart, Andy. Yeah, so that's my dud of the week.
You can't disagree with that. Why would you stick around after beating up somebody like Thunder? It makes no sense. We have Tony Acero and Kenneth Hill in the chats with some very interesting thoughts on their dud of the week. Kenneth says that his dud was Matt Jackson forgetting that he hurt his ankle until halfway through the match. Hot take coming in from Kenneth Hill, coming in roasting the Young Bucks. You better watch out.
I say it was his fighting spirit.
His fighting spirit. Kenneth, you don't want to end up in the middle of a super kick party, so you better zip it. We have Tony in the chat saying Darby thinking he's a college freshman in film class is his dud of the week. You and I were actually talking about that before Dissecting Dynamite went in the air, just how the black and white films, I don't know if I'm there with it. And then we have Wannabe Troutfisher saying Las Vegas Wannabes was his dud of the week. I'd have to agree to an extent.
How dare you?
No,
how dare you?
I know. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. I just thought that they would go a little bit further with it. When I'm watching...
This is my boo-boo face.
When I'm watching Les Dinner Debonair and I see them go all the way, when you start the storyline with something as crazy as that, you have those expectations moving forward. And even though we
got Conan, Swoggle, Piff the Med...
They didn't get Tyson with a tiger in a bathroom, and if they're doing a hangover bit, then what's wrong with you? You've had Tyson on the show before. I know he's prepping for a fight, but grow a pair, Tony Khan. Get Mike Tyson with a tiger. Give us what we want.
See, I can't even give it to Jay Cargill this week because I feel that would just be mean spirited. Because this week, you attacked a woman who was disparaging you last week. It kind of made sense. So
exactly, Jade,
and we didn't, so it wasn't as bad as last week. So yeah, but yeah, I like
Jade can't take the fall this week, and while those may have been duds, we actually have a lot to look forward to on next week's episode of Dissecting Dynamite. We have Will Hobbs in action soon after his heel turn. We have PAC and Phoenix versus Butcher and the Blade. We have Sheeta versus Anna Jay, and then we have Jericho and Hager versus SCU. And also this upcoming week, make sure that we keep a lookout for a new video on 411 Mania's YouTube. It's going to be The Undertaker, 30 Moments in 30 Years, hosted by yours truly in his classic Undertaker hat. And so make sure that you're subscribing to catch that this weekend before Survivor Series. And Jeff, any final words, any final plugs before we sign off on this week's edition of Dissecting Dynamite?
Just thank you very much, Andy, for having me this week. I really appreciate it. Very fun show. You can follow me on Twitter or chat with me on Twitter at Wheeljack83. Once again, I am the J to the E to the double F free, Jeffrey Harris. Thank you for having me on Dissecting Dynamite.
You heard it. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks everyone else for watching. As always, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a comment telling us what you thought about Dissecting Dynamite tonight, and let us know what you want from the show moving forward. Everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.